Our conversation today will be with Patricia Wright, lemur specialist, anthropologist, world-class conservationist. So honored to have you here. Why lemurs? Why Madagascar? Of course, that's where they're from, but I know that's where your work is. And why rainforests?
I loved rainforests just because of the feel of the rainforest, but I didn't realize that there were some rainforests that were critically in danger of disappearing until I got to Madagascar. And it was in Madagascar where I discovered a new species of lemur to science, and that was pretty exciting. But then when the timber exploiters came in and started to cut it down, I was really upset. And when I asked the head of the forestry department, you know, to make a protected area of this area that had so many beautiful lemurs in it, and he said, I think it's a good idea, but we don't have any money. We're Madagascar. So if you find the money, then I'll make the national park with you.
Wow, wow.
And so that was pretty exciting. And we did.
And that was in what year?
And that was a long time ago. It was in 1989, 87, something like that. It was
and
a
that
long
forest
time ago.
is huge. I mean, I've been there with you. As you know,
Yeah.
I was there with you this summer, and it's just, I can't believe you created that. It looks like it's been there forever.
Yeah, it's 125,000 acres,
Wow.
and it is beautiful.
It is
and
astounding, astoundingly beautiful. I recommend to anyone, if you can get there, it's exquisite. And how many species are in it?
Oh,
Of
species.
lemur, I mean, there's many animals.
Okay, we've got about 13 or 14 species of lemurs, 125 plus species of frogs, many reptiles and chameleons, fantastic, and plants that are found nowhere else. It's just a beautiful place.
It really is. I remember at night coming out and seeing all the nightlife that came out. We were holding snakes and frogs and all kinds of creatures. So you came to Madagascar. You were looking for this lemur, right? Weren't you searching for this lemur? So it was your discovery, and then you've discovered that lemurs need forests to live in. So what made you then expand beyond this? And now you're interested in doing more forest, building more forests. What made you decide to do that?
Well, I started even at the very beginning. I realized that you can't just make a national park and walk away. And then I began to realize how complex it really was.
So what really interests me as someone who's working in sustainability is that it seems so important, this restoration of rainforests. And I know from the work of Wangari Maathai in Africa, this rebuilding of forests, how key it is to both the life, the biotic life in Madagascar, but also to climate in general on the planet. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. We're trying to restore some of the rainforest that's gone. 90% is gone. And so we have a lot of work to do. Yeah. And so so the climate has already changed to a certain extent. And then now with the global situation, it's getting worse. So restoring that forest is a good way to save the people. And a way to do that is to use endemic species of plants. If you use endemic species, then the animals are happy and they can continue to live. But for the people, we need to put a cash crop underneath that forest. So we've been working with them to put in vanilla, peppercorns, coffee, tea. There's a lot of things that can work underneath the canopy of the rainforest. And we want to do that all the way to the sea.
Wow.
So that we can, well, one of the major problems in Madagascar is erosion, soil erosion. That silts up the rivers and prevents the fish from surviving and all the other wildlife in the rivers. And so if we can replant, then we can prevent that erosion from happening.
I noticed when we were driving across the country, which, you know, it's quite vast, there was all these plains of just looked like open brown grasses. But that's not the natural way for the land itself, is it?
Those aren't endemic species of grasses. Those are only grasses that can be continued through fire. And almost the whole of island of Madagascar, which is huge, you know, they call it the island continent. But it was covered with forests, different kinds of forests, endemic special species. It's been isolated for many of the mainlands for over 150 million years. That's a long time. That's why everything's so special there and found nowhere else on Earth. But the people arrived about 2,000 years ago, and they brought with them fire and iron to cut down the trees. But now they need the trees to survive. For sustainability, you have to really get the people on board. and then get the people on board, poor people like they are.
Right.
You have to really help them economically, and you have to make it make sense to them that they need those lemurs.
And how did you do that?
One of our silver bullets was ecotourism. They
Ah.
didn't have any tourists going to Madagascar when I arrived.
They didn't?
No. And now we see at least 30,000 a year to come to the park.
That's
and they
extraordinary.
bring funds with them. And then we have hotels now, and we have restaurants, and we have all kinds of businesses that are just arising because of ecotourism. And they're coming only to see the forest and the lemurs. And the people realize that.
Wow.
But still, we need more. And we need them to give them some insurance against things like cyclones. When the cyclones come, which there can be as many as 10 a year, the land, if it's not held down by trees, just erodes, and there's all this destruction, and people's houses fall in. It's really terrible. If they have trees to hold down the land, then they don't suffer this destruction. If they have trees to hold the soil in, they don't have all the erosion and the silting of the rivers and everything. So that's when we got this idea of let's just reforest the place. We didn't think it could be done until we actually did proof of concept. We took the seeds out of the forest and planted them in nurseries, and they grew very well, and fairly fast, much faster. In 15 years, we had these trees having fruits and flowers. So that means that's food for the biodiversity.
Right.
So with this kind of idea, we began to try to get other people involved in actually planting out the native trees. You know, there are lots of reforestation projects that use eucalyptus and pine, but they destroy the soil. They poison the topsoil, and that's not good for biodiversity. So we want the native species. They're adapted to living there.
Are you having difficulty with other countries coming in and wanting to cut down trees? I know China, taking some of the forest, the
yes,
wood.
You've heard about the rosewood.
The rosewood.
There's been a real problem with rosewood exported illegally, so that the Malagasy get almost nothing for it.
Oh.
And they're just, ferried out. But the Ministry of the Environment is doing its best to try to prevent that, and recently we've made a lot of inroads.
And what about mining? Are there mining issues? Yeah.
Yeah, there's mining issues. And right now we have gold mining problems.
Oh.
And our issues are what we're trying to do is keep the gold miners outside the forest. And that's another problem that we've been trying to solve. There's always problems.
Always problems.
And we have to solve them one by one. And we can't solve them alone. We have to work with the people that live around the park. And with the government at all levels.
And I know some of the coral reefs are also, there's issues with, they're having difficulty with growing them, right? At this point, is that pollution? What's the problem with the coral reefs?
It's silting again,
It's the silting.
Yeah, if it's silting and fishing and overfishing, and lots of problems. There's lots of problems in Madagascar. There's no problem with finding the problems, but finding the solution.
But you have a really great solution. I mean, reforestation is key, and the thing that's so interesting to me is that it works together with larger global climate change problems. We need more forests, and this will help on so many levels.
That's right. That's where our oxygen comes from. And so the more forests we have, the better off we all are.
Exactly.
And we've been doing a lot of public relations. That IMAX film that we finished, and
you were on Anthony Bourdain on CNN.
Yes. Anthony was a great guest.
Right.
Yes. No, we've brought the world's attention to the fact that Madagascar is special, and that brings money. And improving the economy is good for Madagascar, and good for the animals, and good for the people too.
It really is. And I was very interested to see this sort of relationship of when women are involved in the communities and when education improves, and as you've mentioned, the health issue, when you have those three pieces, you can do this rebuilding. And we saw that one community, the name is slipping my mind, but we saw several of them where they were actually doing better economically, education was better, food was better for the communities, and they were in restoring the forest and making it an eco site, an eco-touristic site, they were able to achieve all those things.
It's wonderful to be able to do all of these things together. I mean, no part sustainability stands alone.
Right.
You have to work with so many different aspects. And we started out by working with those women's groups.
Right.
And they have just, they've really done very well with selling handicrafts and running their own businesses. We worked with education. We just had a tremendous grant for the Three Graces Foundation, where we're working with the remote schools and teaching them participatory science and critical thinking and getting them started on the right path very early, like, fourth grade, third grade, fourth grade. And then they will improve their abilities to get a job when they grow up. It's like, it's really fun to work on all these different levels. Economics, the women are important, the men are important too.
Right.
And training, capacity building as we call it, but training at all levels.
Right.
To make them take charge of their future, to have the Malagazis and protect their nature, but do it smiling because they have good jobs and good education and a bright future.
So what's your plan for rebuilding the rainforest? Do you have a project right now that you're working on?
Yeah, we just got a reforestation grant.
Okay.
Where we're working with our endemic species. So we're taking the rainforest as it is, and we're putting up nurseries. We're growing the trees that are found in the rainforest. And then we're also adding the texture of the rainforest. You go into the rainforest, you love it because there's all these vines and plants that are in the trees that also have a lot of biodiversity in them. We're taking those plants and putting them in the nursery and growing them too, and then putting them into our forests that we're rebuilding, so that when you come into the rebuilt forest, it has the feeling of the rainforest. And then the animals will have that feeling too, and they'll come in. But the most important thing, of course, is training the people to do some of these new crops. Some of them are new to them, and some of them aren't. These vanilla and peppercorn, essential oils, and things like chocolate, which is very important, and coffee. All these
important
things.
to me.
Yes, they all grow well in a rainforest environment, and are gifts that we have from the rainforest. So if we have more of those gifts, then that's fine. So we're in the mountains, and we're reforesting all the way to the Indian Ocean. So it's a big project, and we have to work with lots of villagers because it's the communities themselves. So they're doing the reforestation. It's the communities themselves. So they're gaining the economic advantage when they have these crops, these cash crops underneath that rainforest. So it's a big project, but we're starting, and we're going to do all we can for over the next 5 to 10 years.
And if people want to help, to donate, to get involved in some way, how would they do that?
Oh, it would be wonderful. We need help. There's so much to do. And many young people are coming as interns, actually working with us. And of course, people can donate. You can come as an ecotourist. Centerville Bio is the name of our research station. It's an all-inclusive research station.
We came and stayed there. It was
environmental
fantastic.
arts, we have science going on, all kinds of health and education, working with women. We do everything all together. So I would be delighted if people would come and help.
So the internships are through Stony Brook University?
Yes.
Right,
yes.
which is where you teach. But
That's
I know
right.
the center is in Madagascar, but you also teach at Stony Brook. So people could come study with you here and then go to Madagascar.
I would be delighted if they'd come here. And we take Stony Brook undergraduates and undergraduates from universities throughout the United States every year in 4 different study abroad programs. So it's
incredible hiking.
Oh, yeah.
Really beautiful. The sound of the river is just breathtaking, and you hear it all the time at the center.
Yes, because the center is built right on the edge of the rainforest, overlooking this extraordinary waterfalls and river, and the lemurs are right across from our station. It's really nice. I can't wait to get back.
I bet. When will you be back there?
It's going to be another month.
Another month.
I have to do a little teaching.
So, well, it's a really incredible opportunity to speak with you. And I just wondered one more thing, which is, are you partnering with medical institutions that are coming to Madagascar to help? Because I know there's a lot of medical issues in terms of people in the backcountry, but also in general.
In general, it's health is a big issue for everyone. And so we're partnering with the Stony Brook Medical Center.
Oh.
And also a new NGO called Pivot, which is strengthens health systems. And the new global health institute that's just been formed at Stony Brook. So we're working together with them.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
So there's really a lot that people could get involved with. You know,
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
conservation aspect, there's studying lemurs, there's working with children. And one of the schools I visited right nearby was amazing. There was a project that 2 Malagasy graduate students were working with the children and teaching them about the biotic life in the forest.
That's right.
And those little kids told us so much information. It was incredible. And they came to love their forest through that education.
Yes, we take them on forest walks and we play forest games. We even have some bands, you know, local bands that are just talking about how wonderful the rainforest is and how wonderful. So, you know, there's a lot of action on the community level with the kids and with the adults, and it's great fun for everybody.
Well, thank you. So I know you have these 2 wonderful books you've written, which were really important to me before I went to Madagascar. Do you have any other books in the works that you'll be writing?
I have one book in the works. You know, lemurs have female leaders. They're female dominant. So I thought it might be really interesting to compare what a society is like when females are in charge. So my next book is going to be about that.
Very interesting. Well, I'll be excited to see that. Well, thank you so much for coming today, and good luck with this rainforest rebuilding. The world will be watching.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.